Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me. Well, today I'm excited. I get to share with you a brand new collection over at the Spellbinders Shop. The collection at Spellbinders is called the Holiday Glimmer for 2019, and this is one of the glimmer plates in that collection. It's called Reindeer Games. It's a larger glimmer plate, and it has all the names of the reindeer, including Rudolph. So we're going to be making a project with that. And then also there's this glimmer plate set. It's actually a glimmer plate and die set. It's called Ornament, and it has this beautiful large ornament. So neat. It does have an oval die that will cut out the center of that ornament, which makes it great for stacking your sentiment right on top. And speaking of sentiments, there's two. One says Merry Christmas, the other one says Happy Holidays, and they're glimmer plates also, so you can foil them, but they fit inside that oval. So if you wanted to cut out a window in your ornament, you could, or you could die cut out your sentiment in an oval and layer it on top of your ornament. So very versatile. There's some dies included, and then you get this beautiful poinsettia flower that has detail in there that's so amazing. You get a holly leaf, and then you get the poinsettia flower leaf. You get holly berries here, and then you get a pine needle flourish. So lots of dies. Those are all dies too. Those aren't glimmer plates, they're dies. But they're detailed and they're just gorgeous. So we're going to make two projects today. We're going to bring in our glimmer machine. It's been warming up and it's ready to go. So we're going to do some foiling. We're going to use two different kinds of foil today. And I'm going to bring in a pewter foil. Pewter foil to me reminds me of a brown, chocolate brown, and so I thought it'd be a great neutral tone for my ornament. I'm also going to be using the rose gold foil. That foil is available separately, but it came with the glimmer kit, and I've had it for a long time, and I'm telling you, these glimmer foil rolls last a long time. Okay, I'm just placing my foil over my ornament. I added my cardstock. I'm going to add some paper shims, and then we're going to add our plates. And then once the light starts flashing, we are going to run that through our die cut machine. We're going to go forward and back, kind of on the slower side. It was a larger glimmer plate, so I wasn't sure how I was going to foil. That's why I added the extra shims, and it foiled beautifully. Okay, I think this is going to work out great. And you can see that kind of chocolatey color. Now, we're going to next take our sentiment. We're going to use Merry Christmas. We're going to place them face up, and we're going to stack the Merry on top. That way it fits inside the oval. And then we are going to foil our sentiment with the rose gold foil. We'll just trim down a smaller piece, place it over the top, add our cardstock here, some paper shims, which I probably didn't need to add the paper shims for such a small sentiment. In fact, it overfoiled just a little bit, but that's okay. And here is our ornament. Isn't that stunning? I just think it's so gorgeous. There was excess foiling, but no worries. I'm just taking my eraser and going around it. I'm not worried about the corners, only because we're going to fussy cut our ornament out. But I'm just removing the excess foil with my eraser. Okay, now my sentiment's all done, and then we're going to do one last foiling with the Reindeer Games sentiment here. I'm going to use the pewter foil for this. Now I have a panel that's 5.5 inches tall by 3 1/4 inches wide. I placed my glimmer plate on printer paper first, and then it's the same size as my cardstock that I'm going to be using. That way I can kind of get it centered. But here's my sentiment, and I got some foil all over the place on that. And I wasn't sure if it was going to clean up with my eraser or not, but it cleaned up beautifully. I had no, it worked out great, so I'm going to use that one. We're going to run this one through the Platinum 6, and you'll see how fun the fonts are. The reindeer's names are Dasher, Dancer, and Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous, no, just kidding. There's Rudolph down there on the bottom. I could have sang for you guys, but boy, that would have probably scared you. Okay, that's all the glimmer or foiling we're going to do. Now I'm going to die cut out my Merry Christmas using that oval die. And So we'll just bring in our base plate for our die cutting machine and run that through. Lovely. After we have that done, I'm going to use my scissors and just fussy cut out my ornament. And then I did remove the excess foiling on my Reindeer Games sentiment. Now I'm bringing in some cardstock, some green, yellow, and pink. We're going to make a pink poinsettia flower. I'm going to die cut out the red holly berries, and then 2 of the poinsettia leaves and 4 of the holly leaves. This way we're going to do a little bit of layering, and I am doing 2 of the poinsettia flowers. But I hope the camera picks up the detail in that flower. It's just a gorgeous flower. Okay, next we're going to add our sentiment to our ornament. And I just love that. Now I'm going to do a little layering with my flower, so I'm going to add some foam adhesive to one of them, and then I'll just top the second one right over the top, kind of shifting it a little bit. And I think that's, I've been on a pink poinsettia flower kick lately. I think my Christmas this year is going to be pinks and greens. I just love the softness of it. But next I'm going to add my flower leaves. Just do a little bit of tucking. I think that looks great. Now if you wanted to, you could punch a hole in the ornament and add some twine. For me, I'm just going to double up on some natural colored twine and tie a bow with it. Just trim off the tails, and then I'm going to use a glue dot to secure that to the top of my ornament. But you could very well add a string over the ornament so it looks like it's hanging if you wanted to. We're going to go ahead and add our bow. I love natural and pinks together. I just think it looks very kind of rustic, soft vintage. I don't know how to explain it, but I just love that. I had a little green flower in my little gem collection for my stash. It wasn't even labeled. I don't even know where I got it from, but I thought the green flower went perfect in the center of my poinsettia. Now I wanted to add a little bit of color to my foiling, so I brought in some pink and green Copic markers and just did a little bit of coloring on my ornament. And I'll do the same thing with my Reindeer Games sentiment here. There's not very many areas where you can add color to, but you can add it to the vixen. So I'm coloring with greens here, and then I'm going to bring in the pink and do a little shading with the Rudolph. And I think that looks really fun. You can see on the very bottom of the Rudolph, it's kind of curved a little bit. After I add a little bit of red, there's some little decorative elements on the left and right of here, so I'm adding some little dots around there. Since my holly berries are red, I just wanted to bring down some of that red. But I'm going to use my scissors and follow along that curve of the Rudolph. Just adds a little bit of something extra on the bottom of this panel. And then my foiling was off just a hair, so I'm going to trim off about 1/8 of an inch to the left of my panel here. That way it kind of balances and looks a little more even. Now I glued down 2 of my holly leaves to the very top. Now for the next 2, I'm going to glue them together, and then I'll flip them over. I'm going to add some small foam squares behind it. This way I can layer it on top of the first layer of holly leaves, but I have a little bit of dimension. Just makes it look a little fuller too. I'm going to go ahead and add my berries. And then after I added my berries, I did realize that I just had too much red, but I'm going to fix that in just a little bit. But I think that looks just so fun. We're going to add some foam tape behind both my reindeer panel and then also my ornament. And then we're going to work on our background panel. For the background panel, I'm bringing in a paper pad. This is the Express Yourself 6x6 paper pad. If Spellbinders has this in the shop individually, I'll link it down below. But this was part of a card kit, and sometimes they do sell the pattern paper separately. But I love the wood grain, so I'm going to add 2 1-inch strips, one to the left and one to the right of this panel, and I'm leaving 1/4 inch of the card base showing. I'm using the grids on my mat just to help me line them up. And I did put a piece of the pink cardstock behind this pattern paper here. This has very subtle scripty print on here, and so I just wanted a little bit of pink on the left side. We'll trim off the excess, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the release paper from our ornament, and we'll adhere that to the center of our card base. Love that. Okay, now for this one we're using the same paper from the same paper pad. I just trimmed it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, leaving me a little bit of a white border on my card base. We'll adhere that, and then I'll remove the release paper and add this panel right in the center. And remember, my Rudolph has that pink in here, so I decided to add some pink gems to the very top berries. The bottom 2 berries were tucked underneath the holly leaves that were popped up. So I'm just putting the pink ones on the very top. And then just to make it flow a little bit better, I'm using my Journey Glaze over the red berries, which is like a glossy accents. But these are my projects today, guys, using the ornaments and the Reindeer Games Glimmer Plate. They're part of the Holiday Glimmer collection for 2019. I encourage you guys to check it out. I'll leave the link to the entire collection if you want to check it out down below. But have a great day. Thanks so much for joining me, and we will see you again real soon, guys. Bye-bye.